It is not a pleasant idyll of a place, but they are certainly proud of their town. Hey everyone, welcome back. Or if this is your first time, welcome. I am Dr. Tangent, and you are going to go on a foray with me into the twisting multiverse that is craft beer and good music. Well, hopefully good music, because tonight is a reaction. Second time for the channel. We're going to have a beer that we've never had before, although I have had beers from this brewery, and the brewery is fantastic. And we're going to pair that with a song that I have never heard before. I've listened to a few things from the band because it was a band I had never heard before either, but I have not listened to the song we're going to be pairing tonight. But first, let's talk about the brewery and the beer. The brewery is Abjuration Brewing Company out of McKees Rocks, Pennsylvania, a rough and tumble suburb of Pittsburgh. They will be the first to admit that it is not a pleasant idyll of a place, but they are certainly proud of their town. The brewery is very unique. I've been there a few times. Love the guys. You may, if you've watched the beer short on glassware, there is actually a glass from Abjuration Brewing featured in there. Their approach is interesting. They have a wide variety of beers. They do everything from pale ales and traditional lagers to some really experimental sours. And tonight we're looking at a dessert stout. So, pretty excited about that. They also believe in open sourcing. As many small breweries have, they come from the ranks of home brewers and fully support the homebrew community by making their recipes available to homebrewers. If you want to get the recipe for one of their beers, you can get it. So you can try to brew it yourself, which I think is pretty darn cool. They also have a very interesting nomenclature for their beers. They are version based, they say. This particular beer is in their line called the Dark Chemistry line of beers. These are dessert stouts, so they designate them DS for dessert stout. Then each version they come out with gets a new version number. If it's a major revision, it'll go from version 1 to version 2. If it's a variation, it will get a 1 dot. This particular one is DS version 1.6 Dark Chemistry. And what does Abjuration have to say about it? It is a grist of two-row Munich oats and a blend of roast malts are the backbone of this pastry stout. Version 1.6 is conditioned on freeze-dried cherries, cinnamon, cocoa nibs, and marshmallows. The result is a sweet but well-balanced stout. Weighs in at 9.8% and 50 IBUs to try to balance out that what I expect to be incredible sweetness. Let's drill into that name a little bit. Dark chemistry. What is dark? Dark chemistry is actually a thing. Dark chemistry refers to chemistry without the need of energetic radiation. That's coming from, time to sound erudite, Sergio Iopolo, Queen Mary University of London. So it's dark chemistry is the study of essentially what ends up being the beginnings of the universe. They study how chemical reactions can happen, namely production of amino acids in the absence of light, in the absence of any energetic radiation. So, you know, chemistry re-big bang type of thing. So, deep subject, interesting. Let's see how the beer is. Let's see how the song pairs with the beer. It'll be interesting. But a little bit more about Abjuration. It's a cool place. If you ever get a chance to go to McKees Rocks, do it. Don't be afraid. It's a interesting facility. They're co-located with the Parkway Theater, which is this funky little theater. You go in and seating is in the middle and on the side, and if you go to the left and all the way to the back, there's the small bar there where you can get your drafts from Abjuration and pick up your to-go from Abjuration. But then in the center, there's a small stage and a screen, theater screen. But then all the way on the right, there is a long bar where when the theater is having events, they man the bar and you can get cocktails and things like that. So it's an interesting venue. Very, very interesting. Cozy, but interesting. So definitely check it out. But speaking of checking things out, let's crack this baby open. We got some drinking to do. I did pull this from my fridge about hour and a half ago to let it start to come up in temperature a little bit. Stouts, especially heavy stouts, sweet stouts, benefit from being a little bit warmer than fridge temp. You don't want them chilly cold. Chilly cold. That's pretty. That is pretty. Substantial, very fine head. Tan, beautiful. Very dark beer, but not opaque. Not opaque, just very, very dark. You can't see through it, but it's not hazy. Thick tan head, good retention. You see that? It's barely going down just yet. That's very nice. Mule mule. I get the cherries. I get a little bit of cocoa. I get some other very dark, fruity, maybe like super overripe berries, like blueberries or blackberries. Very, very saturated aroma wise, and some earthy notes. Hell, it's even going into like some fig, almost like a fig preserves. But I'm also getting like a sweet pipe tobacco. Very nice, very complex on the schnoz. Beautiful beer. Mm. I didn't get much of a roasty note on the aroma, but on the palate, I do get a good amount of like a dark roast coffee. It comes through late and lingers long into a dry, somewhat tannic finish, somewhat bitter. Not really hop bitter, more like coffee bitter. Like if you took a slug of a nice coffee but was drinking it black, like some psychopaths do. You know who you are. You get that coffee bitterness balancing things out, but up front you definitely get chocolate, get the cherries, you get a lot of sweetness initially, and then it slowly transitions over to that nice black coffee, not harsh bitter, but smooth bitter, if that makes any sense, but it is delicious. Right in mid palate, you get some of the other fruits coming through. I'm still getting like a fig jam, little bit of overripe berry, but definitely cherry forward. Cherry and chocolate at the front. The marshmallow, I think you don't get directly. I think the marshmallow is probably just mellowing out, smoothing out some of the edges. Because marshmallow is a tough one to detect in a beer unless you just really overdo it with the marshmallow. But marshmallow generally comes across as like a very round vanilla flavor. But that's really great. Really am enjoying this beer. Abjuration's a fave of mine personally, so I'm glad that it's good. But like I said, this is a reaction. Never had this beer before. Never heard the song before. The band I had not heard of before. The band is called Solid Advice. Don't know a whole lot about them. Listen to a few of their tracks. Not this one. This particular one we're going to listen to tonight is called My Chemistry's Sick. Their band is described as alt, indie, or drought rock, which was a new term to me. Couldn't really find a whole lot online with regards to drought rock, but did come across an interesting tangent when I was searching. Drought rocks or hunger stones are a medieval thing. I got this from a Smithsonian Magazine article from 2018. Back in medieval times, when droughts were particularly bad and rivers would run very low, rocks that weren't normally exposed would become exposed, and people would carve on them, marking the level of the river and uh, relating that to what was going on for the people in that area, whether it was a drought that caused a famine, things like that. In fact, one of the rocks that was discovered in Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, expressed that the drought had brought a bad harvest, lack of food, high prices, and hunger for poor people. Then there was also on the same rock an inscription in German that read, "When you see me, weep." So, in listening to some of their music, I kind of get maybe where they're going with the drought rock idea. Their sound is interesting. I get a kind of like a folky Soundgarden sound with some REM mixed in and a measure of Ray LaMontagne on top, which is how I would describe the couple tracks that I have listened to. But let's check out this one and see what it's like. All right, folks, let's check this out. I'm not going to interrupt the flow of the song with comments. I may throw some comments up graphically during the video if I have some thoughts that I want to share in the moment. I mean, I love reaction videos, but I have a love-hate relationship with the constant interrupting of a song to make comments about what you're listening to. So I'm going to try something a little different. We're not going to interrupt it. Hope you enjoy. If you like what I'm doing, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell when you do, because I'm constantly putting out new content, and I would love for you to stay caught up. Also, most importantly, if you have something you want me to know, request, question, comment, leave it in the comments below. I love to interact, so love to hear from you. Let's check this out.
Who turned my chemistry sick? Who pried open my grip? Turned my words into oil and
Well, that was interesting. I'll reserve my opinion for a little bit later in this video. But definitely compared to some of the other tracks that I've listened to from Solid Advice, uh, definitely leaned away from the folky Soundgarden sound and definitely much more towards the Ray LaMontagne. Definitely had that solemn folk, almost country sadness to it. On the surface, sounded like it was straight up, anti-government, anti-war, pro-ecology, man's doing bad things to the world type of song. But I really got the impression that there was something deeper, something a little more personal to the band, something a little more personal to the songwriter going on in there. Which leads me to my Dr. T's impact line of the song. There's a line in there. I don't know if it was if they do two verses before the chorus or if it's just the second half of the first verse. But either way, towards the beginning of the song, there's a line in there. It says, "Stick or twist to get away from it. The siren cyclone singing all the hits." Kind of seemed to me that there's an underlying description of the songwriter's perhaps battle with the music industry, or simply distaste for aspects of the music industry going on inside the song. Now, I certainly could be wrong. Music, just like beer, is experienced through our own personal filter. Your life events are going to impact how you perceive things. That's just how life is. Everybody can get a little bit different experience out of a song or out of a beer. And, in some respects, that's a beautiful thing. It might make it harder to relate to other people at times, but it also makes it nice to find people who think like you do. So, do I like the song? Yeah, I kind of do. It is sad. It has a enjoyable angst to it. I like the sound. I like the production quality. I did get heavy Ray LaMontagne vibes, heavy folk, almost country vibe to it. Did still get that alt rock, indie rock feel, especially towards the end when that heavily distorted guitar, not a solo, but more of a atmosphere came in that still gave me a little bit of a Soundgarden vibe, a little bit of a grunge, post grunge vibe that I enjoyed. So I think it's a good song. I'm gonna leave some links to a couple other songs from the band. This song was from an album released in 2018. Unfortunately, the band's socials don't show much activity since then, so I have no idea where the band is now. If we'll be getting new music from them, I would welcome it. The band is a couple guys that have some roots in New Mexico, but are somewhere between New York City and Philadelphia currently, as far as I can tell from my internet sleuthing. But interesting band, tough to Google because try Googling Solid Advice and you'll get a ton of stuff that is talking about advice of any of various subjects, and precious little on the band, even if you use quotations and put Solid Advice band. There's just not a whole lot out there. But maybe more will come. Maybe it won't. I think the song, like this beer, has some complexity to it if you dig a little deeper, but that might just be me. This beer, however, is fantastic. Definitely seek out Abjuration Brewing whenever you can. And until we meet again, keep drinking.